It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Air Force head women's tennis coach, Coach Kim Gidley. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Hey, thanks so much for having me, Brandon.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get into college coaching?
Yeah, it was actually kind of an accident. My dream goal was always to be a high school tennis coach. And when I graduated from college, I got a graduate scholarship to pay for my master's right off the bat. And then University of West Virginia had an opening as assistant coach. So I kind of was able to double dip there a little bit, where I got, my grad school at West Virginia, paid a little bit, and then got the other scholarship. So my dad really encouraged me to go get my master's off the bat. And when I got to coach my first year, it was phenomenal. I probably had the greatest experience ever, and a lot of fun. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize it could be this much fun. It was a lot different as a player. And then, but my goal was still always to be a high school coach, because that's what I experienced as a player. So that's what I thought I wanted to do.
What was the transition like? Obviously, when you knew that you wanted to be a high school coach, but now you're a college coach. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I don't think it was much a transition of like, hey, this is an opportunity. I had been coaching pretty much since I was 18. And through the years, I'd done camps and I'd been injured. And, so I was a certified teaching pro. So a lot of different stuff. So it wasn't anything new. I was just using it for experience to, hey, when I do get that coaching opportunity. But I didn't think anything different. It's just an opportunity to coach and work with young individuals.
What was it like coaching at West Virginia as the assistant coach?
Martha Thorne, she recently passed away last year, and they're having a memorial for her this year. But she was an icon with Title IX. And you think of those women that coached before there was really good pay and those opportunities and things like that. So I really feel privileged to have the opportunity to work under her, and just say that, a legend that, I was there with her and had that opportunity. But West Virginia was great. The school was great. It was really my first opportunity to experience a school experience, because, when I was in college, it was tennis, academics, and social. So I never had much of a social life. So when you go to a big school like that and big football, and it was really fun to experience the total collegiate experience.
What was it like being the assistant coach for Iowa in 97 to 98?
So yeah, I was at University of Idaho, and it was a good opportunity to get back into college tennis, because I had gotten out. And once you get out of that door, it makes it really, really tough. And so anything that you do, it becomes a small world. I think they talk about, 7 or 6 degrees of separation. So from my university that I played college tennis, Southern Illinois at Edwardsville, my coaches there and the teaching pros there. One of the former coaches on the men's side was at South Carolina. And when I went to the college convention, because that's how I was trying to get back into college coaching, I'm like, well, I can't get it just applying for jobs. I need to go to the college convention. And when I was there, I met up with the South Carolina coach, who had been a former alumni, a coach at my university. And so he kind of connected me with the University of Idaho, and it really kind of got me back in the door. But it was really crazy experience. All I had was I had a really small 2-door car, and whatever I could put in the car is what I drove up to Idaho with. And it was like 36 hours, and it was Moscow, Idaho. And most people thought it was Moscow, Russia. And, the shipping and stuff, my dad had to ship me clothes and stuff, because I just didn't have very much room. And even the first, month or two, I stayed on people's couches, because I literally, a week before school started, said, okay, I'll take the job, drove up there, and had nothing set up or no plan. So it was really crazy. But once again, a great opportunity to work with, young individuals that had all internationals from all over the world. And again, I love those different cultures and meeting them and working with them. So it was a really great experience.
What was this transition from you from going from civilian schools to obviously now with Air Force being a military school?
When I interviewed for the job way back when, it was converting from a complete military position to a civilian position. And so everybody at the academy wore uniform. They were military. The athletic director was a colonel. The physical education department who interviewed me, they were colonels. The only person that was civilian was the supervisor, but everybody else wore uniforms and things like that. So the good news is that my dad had been in the Air Force and he'd worn a uniform, and I had to answer a phone the certain way when someone called at home. So I was a little bit used to that protocol, but really different look. And I know that one of the persons that interviewed, she was like, "Oh wow, and everybody's wearing a uniform. This is too scary. I don't want anything to do with this." For me, it was a comfort. My dad made sure I knew the ranks and all those things, so that was a great opportunity.
What was it like joining the Air Force Academy as the head coach?
Well, it was neat to finally have my own program, and I had been an assistant for a long time. I was a head coach at high school, and I always thought that if I had my own program, I could find a way to win and to do it with my style and with my personality. So I'm really blessed to have the opportunity at the Air Force Academy that they gave me, that I could start off with collegiate coaching doing that.
Of course, as you talked about your dad being in the Air Force, what was it like obviously getting the job with Air Force, knowing that your dad was in the Air Force and now you're coaching people that are going into the Air Force?
When I applied for the job, he got super excited, which is, I wasn't, again, the very first, I was not interested in applying. It was really a total accident that I even applied for the job. At Idaho, I was going to Texas to teach camps, and I had driven 24 straight hours. But one of my mentors at Texas A&M, David Kent, he said, apply for every job. And so when the job came open right before I was getting in the car to drive, I sent in my resume. So basically, I'd driven a day straight, got here, and I called my dad in Texas, say, "Hey, Dad, I'm here." And when I did that, he's like, "Oh, the Air Force called and they got your resume and they want to talk to you." So I was like, "Okay, I'm in town. I got a hotel here. I'll call them." Called them up and visited with the coach. And she was awesome. She said, "Come visit in the morning." And okay, I still got a 12-hour drive, but I'll come visit for an hour and get going. But of course, I ended up staying about 6 hours. It was awesome. I immediately fell in love. I thought it was, the best kept secret in America. And I'm like, wow. And I do want to pursue this interview and things like that. So just at that time, my dad was going to hike the Chilkoot Trail in Alaska. He was the oldest person that year to hike it. And so he was gone for 2 weeks. And this is before cell phones and things like that. So during that time, I got an interview, and then when they interviewed me, he didn't know how the interview went. He didn't know if I got the job. And of course, right before he got back, they called and they offered me the job. And of course, I was so excited of like, man, this is great, that I said, "Okay, great, I'll take the job." And it was funny because earlier that morning I got offered another job, but I said, "Hey, I want to hold off," because I'd interviewed with the Air Force. And when the athletic director offered me the job, I'm like, "I'll take it." And he goes, "But I didn't even tell you how much it paid." So I took a job without not knowing how much it paid, but that's how excited I was. But in the interview process before I started, my dad even, he and my brother sat down at a table and he put on his old uniform and he grilled me with the ranks and making sure I knew how to address people and things like that. So he was super excited.
What was it like in 2020 to have obviously the big career of your win?
It's kind of funny. When it happened, obviously, I didn't even know it. I totally forgot about it. And we were playing University of Colorado, and we were playing outside, and it was in January outside. and a butterfly just started flying around. And by that time we had clinched the match. We had one match left. So we were up 5-1 in the match. And it was actually our first time ever to beat University of Colorado at Colorado. So to beat a Pac-12 team on the road was, pretty significant. And I'm just thinking, man, this is kind of cool that we won, and we won there. And this butterfly is flying around in January. And my mom had recently passed that year. And so I'd heard that, butterflies a lot of times fly around, and I'm like, wow, mom must be here. She must know that we won. How kind of cool this is. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, wow, this is my 300th win. So I didn't it was kind of like all after the fact. It wasn't like, but to me, it's neat to have a win like that against a legitimate school on the road. When we came back, the athletic department celebrated and things like that. But it was really something that I didn't even realize at the time until about the end of the process. And so it was a real special moment for me that, I thought I could, I felt like my mom was there, and she knew, and she was celebrating, and she was super excited.
Looking back on your career, how does it feel to have the most wins in Air Force career?
I don't really think about that. I have an opportunity that maybe a lot of other coaches maybe will never get, and that's called longevity. I hope I can stay here until I retire, but you just, you take each year like it is. So I'm really just blessed for the opportunity, the coaches that came before me that set up this path, set the program. The former coach, Kim Davis, she was great in helping me. Kim Davis Green. It was funny because her is Kim Green and I'm Kim Gidley. So everybody thought we were two of the same people because we were both Kim G's. But for her to give me that opportunity, because the coaches before me could only stay 3 years because they were all military folks. And so every 3 years, they'd have to have a turnover and take a new assignment. So to be the first civilian coach and to be able to have that longevity is really special. I call it lifers. A lot of the coaches, or same thing with the athletes that get here, is like, if you get it, you'll want to be here for life, and you understand everything the academy is about, and you embrace those opportunities.
What are some of your college coaching careers accomplishments?
I've received numerous Coach of the Year, but again, those are because of the great teams that I have had. As well as my coaching staff that surrounds me. So when you hire great people, that helps you get some of those accolades. But I've had those from the USPTA College Coach of the Year on 2 occasions, to the Mountain West Coach of the Year, to the Regional Coach of the Year. To me, my biggest accomplishment, the most fun, is always beating Army. So I think 3 years ago when we got to play at the USTA National Tennis Center on the Tennis Channel, that was just a huge venue and so exciting. In the scheme of things, it's not that big, but if you're military, that's a huge thing. Always having a winning record against Armies has been a big thing. We were the 3rd most improved Division I program in the country a few years ago. I would have rather been the most improved, but we were pretty close. But, being co-conference champions, those are things that are great, but in the end, it's every year. Sometimes my biggest accomplishments are, when they graduate. I've got a girl right now that's going to come visit me this weekend. So she graduated 21 years ago. To me, that's a great accomplishment that she's going to come back and visit with myself and bring her family, her kids, and visit with our program. So to me, that's huge. If I would say there was a single accomplishment, it's the alumni when they come back and they're part. Just recently, I had a former player who is now assistant district attorney for the state of Nebraska, and actually the general counsel. And then she's a JAG for the Air Force and the reserves. And so when they come back and they pass that legacy on to the new players of, hey, this is what you can do when you get out of the Air Force, when you're in the Air Force, but basically what you can do after you graduate. I think to me, that's my greatest accomplishment, that players come back and they're still a part of a program and they want to see the newbies be as successful as they were and enjoy their experience at the academy.
What is it like getting to play Air Force every year and some of your other teams that you play?
Um, we have certain rivalries, and some rivalries are like University of Wyoming. They're just such a fierce rivalry. Wyoming doesn't have a professional sports program. So when you go to their school, everybody comes out and they travel well. So it's so great to go to their venue and play with people cheering and things like that. But their coach is super competitive. I'm super competitive, but then off the court, we're good friends. So to me, those are kind of the best type of competitive rivals to have versus the ones that you don't like the school and maybe you have something to chip against the coach, whether it be you or them. Then those kind of make it not as much fun, but it's the ones that you really have that high amount of respect for of what they do with their program, how they work with their kids, and just knowing it's going to be a dog fight. And when the match is over, like whoever wins, great job. We're going to get you next year, but hey, let's go have a drink or let's go. We can sit down and talk together. We're allowed to do that. And to me, I think that's kind of what coaching's all about. It's being invested in the young people that they work at and getting other people involved and having them watch and support.
What is a typical game day match for Air Force like?
Well, when we play at home, that's kind of that all depends. So we could play at home during a military training weekend, meaning that all the cadets are cleaning their rooms and we don't have anybody there. We could play at home and we could play in the evenings and we could get 400 people out and all the kids from their squadron. We have a girl that she was in Squadron 6, and so they always have these things. So they have a nickname, they're Bull 6, and they rage. And so, and they have all these, and they'll come out and they'll dress up and they'll body paint their bodies and things like that. And they'll make bubble heads of their, the girl in their squadron. So when we can get the cadets involved, that's super fun. A lot of times we have food for fans. And, hey, come on out. Obviously, COVID put a big restriction on that last year because we couldn't do any of that. So we're hoping, this spring we can do it. We've had squadrons come down with their squadron flags, so if we can play at home with the cadets, that makes it more fun because they've got vested interest in seeing their squadron mate do well. And we play on the road, we travel better than most teams there. We went to University of Tennessee a few years ago, and we probably had more fans. We did have more fans, but they had their event staff was so large that was probably bigger than their fan base, but we had more fans than that. So we travel really well because we're Team USA. And we also try to go and compete from where our kids are from. Next week, we're supposed to go to Arizona. We've got a girl from the Phoenix area. That match got canceled. So then we rescheduled Northern Illinois, which is in Chicago. And so we got one of our players, her parents just moved to Chicago. So we really try to play from where our cadet athletes are from. We went to Seattle one year. One girl had 64 people there at the match. She had, her high school friends, her coaches, her relatives, her teachers. And so, when one person can have 64 fans alone, that's kind of neat because they're probably like, what just happened here? This is our event. We've got more Air Force fans. So it's really special and unique that our parents are so supportive and they'll come out and compete against, they're part of our team. We have the Air Force team, and then we have our parents and we have the fans that really support us and help us out and get people out when we travel.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you have helped build for the women's tennis program at Air Force?
I hope it's a lot of tradition, and we have certain things we like to keep. It's taken a long time to get those things that work for your program, what they say, how they act, what they want to do, what they want to accomplish. Obviously, it changes every year a little bit because every team is different. Even if you have 90% of the team coming back the next year, that following year's team can change slightly or drastically. So I think our alumni base, for what they expect and what they want and how they support our team, it's great. And again, that's my highlight of being a coach, is when they can come back and they're here on campus and they talk to our cadets about, what their experiences are and in life, and how tennis and athletics and the demands at the academy have helped them be successful. And so it's really not about tennis, it's really about the game of life. And so when they share that, it makes it really, really cool.
What is the recruitment process like for prospective student athletes, and in particular, prospective candidates?
So we really need to recruit Americans. There's a slight exception, but that's basically a slim and none, that it's an accident when it happens. But they need to be a U.S. citizen. They need to be not have any health issues. A lot of young people now take medicine when they're younger for all kinds of certain things, or inhalers, or prescribed it even if they don't need it, but in case they do. And those actually end up hurting us in the recruiting process, because medically our standards are so high that, you've got to pretty much not go to the doctor for anything but your maybe sports medical checkup. Tennis wise, we're looking for, the top players in the country, obviously blue chip players and people that are going to make a difference, because we play in a conference that pretty much has all internationals. And if we're looking to beat them, we've got to play at that level. So it's not like I played high school tennis and, this is like, what's your national level experience? What's your international level experience? And that's really what we need to be successful, because that's what we're competing against. So really the medical part, the tennis part, the academic part. So if they don't meet our academic standards, we can't recruit them. So we're very much like an Ivy League school academically. We're looking at those type of standards and expectations. You're going to get a degree in 4 years. You're going to take 18 to 22 hours. So academics are a huge part of our element. And if you don't have those test scores, we don't give a waiver for it, because if we give a waiver, then you're going to struggle all 4 years, and that's not fair to you or for the team. So academics are another huge part. And then the last part is they've got to still, these young 18-year-olds got to interview with their senators and congressmen, and it's like a professional job interview. They need to wear dresses and, wear coats and ties if they're males. And it's the start of their career, because when you come here, it's really, I always say it's a $500,000 scholarship, even though technically we're not a scholarship school, but everybody come here as appointment that's close to that right there. And we have high expectations for them once they get here and once they graduate. And so we have to continue to put those expectations, and just tennis is a real small part of it. And I want to use tennis as an avenue, not only to, we're trying to win the battles, and we're trying to make them great warrior women when they graduate, that are going to be great leaders in possibly life and death situations. And they're going to make the right choices, the moral choices, and things like that.
That's amazing. What is obviously the official visit like?
Well, an official visit, we're probably very different from other schools, because a lot of the schools say, academics are number one. But well, we actually really do make sure academics are way high up there. But with that said, is they're going to go to class. So we're going to have them stay in the dorms. They're going to see people, walk in the hallways. It's a co-ed dorm, guys and girls. And they're going to see the beds made. And, in the morning at 6 a.m. when they read the minutes, they're going to be part of hey, what's going on for the day? They have a little book that they have to read. They're going to go to class at 7:30. They're going to meet with advisors. They're going to see our Center for Character and Leadership Development, which is like only one of 3 places in the country. They're going to do flight simulators. They're going to live the day in a life of cadet when they come for a visit. And when they come, they're usually exhausted. There's a lot of walking, but they see a lot of stuff. They get to talk to a lot of people. We don't want to, they need to know everything. Hey, we wear uniforms to class. We march to lunch. We want them to see the whole picture. You're going to get up early. You're not getting up late. You're going to go to bed late. your room's got to be clean. You can have only so many personal items. If you're a freshman, you might have one pitcher, you can't have a refrigerator, all these things we want them to really know. And that it's privilege oriented. If you do the right stuff, then, when you're a junior, you earn a car. But if you're a junior and you've kind of screwed up and you're not where you need to be, you don't have that privilege yet, and you don't get it until you're off those probations. So really want them they see the big picture. And it's really interesting because sometimes I have people that want to come and they come here and like, ooh, I don't want to do that. And other times I have people like, I don't want to come. I don't want to come. I don't want to come. And they come here and they have a visit and they go, this is the best place ever. Like, it's amazing. So it's really a unique place that you have to visit. You have to meet the people. And I always tell the recruits, if you're more like the people on our team, then it's a great fit for you. But if you're not like the people on our team, probably not a very good fit. If you're not looking for a challenge, if you're not a person of vision, if you're not adventurous, you've got to really be outside the box with those and ready to step up to be uncomfortable. And your 4 years here, that's, we try to, when you graduate, you're comfortable being uncomfortable by the time you graduate.
What advice would you give college tennis players looking to play college tennis?
I think one of the things is look at every opportunity. There's Division I, Division II, Division III, there's NAI, and there's a junior college. So if you're a female and you want to play college tennis, there's a school for you that you can get a scholarship at and play. There's so many unused scholarships, and that's a lot of reasons why the coaches recruit internationals, because internationals will take a scholarship. And sometimes as the US kids were like, well, that's not the school I want to go to, versus, you know what, I want an opportunity to play tennis and get better and to prove myself. And with the new transfer rule, I think it's a great opportunity to do that. There's no shame in any of those levels. They're a great experience. Most of these junior players have invested 10, 12 years of their life playing the sport. And I think 4 years at any level is phenomenal, and they need to try it, and that's okay. And they can balance out, each institution has maybe, hey, tennis might be third on the list, but you still get that opportunity to play and be a part of a team and compete for 4 years, which is really, really awesome. The other thing I'd say, someone looking to go play college tennis, is if you're given an opportunity to visit, take all of your 5 paid visits. You get 5 paid visits. Make sure you use them. A lot of times people commit on their first or second visit, and then they don't use their other 3 visits. So I would use all of my 5 paid visits. And the last thing I do if I'm looking to play college tennis is that when I go and play a college tournament, and this is even for any sport, if you got siblings that play baseball or football, anywhere you go, stop off at the university, call the coach up. Hey, I'm so-and-so and I'm in town, and I just want to see your university and your facilities and what your program's about, because I think that's a really missed opportunity that parents and young kids don't do. And I think the more information you have, the better decision you'll make, versus the less information doesn't help in your decision-making process. And this is the first major decision usually that these, 17, 18-year-olds are making. And I think the more information is the best bet to go.
What advice would you give college coaches looking to get into the industry?
I would feel that the sooner you get in, the easier it is. So if straight out of college tennis, or, basically college, that you want to be a college coach, that's your easiest route to get in. But just like playing tennis, there's no one clear-cut path. And so there's a lot of really good college coaches out there that were high school coaches. So, and then I always think of Dick Vitale. He's kind of one of my mentors of here he was a high school basketball coach, but he wanted to be a commentator, and he was in his 40s before he really got that big break. So I think, if you want to coach college tennis, you're going to find a way and an avenue. And even for me to get back in, I was like, okay, I'll go be a teaching pro, and then, okay, I'll do this. And okay, I got to go back and be an assistant, and you're going to have to pay your dues. The chances are you're going to have to be an assistant somewhere, or just, take a program, take any program you can get. Just like we talk about sometimes the US players of, a school may not be to their, that's as good as they want to get, go take this program and build it up and prove that, hey, doesn't matter if you have a background as a player or not, but if you want to be a coach and could coach, you'll prove that you can win there, and you'll be amazed the doors that will open up.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media, along with the Air Force Women's Program at?
We have Air Force Women's Tennis on Facebook, and we also have that on Instagram. So would love to have you check us out on either one of those. And you can always Google us if a recruit or someone wants to chat with me. They can always go to airforcefalcons.com and look under women's tennis, and our emails there and phone numbers, and you can contact our coaching staff.
Thank you again, Coach Kim Gidley, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the Air Force Women's Tennis Program.
Hey, thank you so much, Brandon. Go Blue.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Kim, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.